Okay, this is going to be journal entry number 2, which is probably a continuation of journal entry number 1, but because when the last video I made like this talked about how abusive my wife was on our honeymoon and thereafter. So people were asking me, why didn't I get a divorce? And there's 2 reasons, really. The first reason is the real reason. The real reason I didn't get divorced is I was raised Catholic, and then I was attended a lot of Protestant churches, and then I became a Jehovah's Witness. But one of the things all those religions had in common was the teaching that you can only get married once and you have to stay married forever. And that's not just a Christian thing. I mean, religions around the world have that. So I figured if every religion on earth teaches this, there's no way they can all be wrong. So I didn't want to make God mad. God has always been real to me. And so I hung in there. But another reason why I didn't get a divorce, which is once I read the Bible for myself, I could see that the marriage stuff that the religions around the world teach is false. So even once that happened, another reason for why I didn't get divorced is like in the weeks leading up to my marriage, I wanted to do something special for my wife. So I went to the courthouse and I added her name to the deed of my property, and I went to the bank and I put her name on my bank account, and the car I bought right before I got married, I put both of our names on it. So half of everything I own belonged to my wife now, legally. And so for me to get out of the marriage, I would have to probably give her the house. And I couldn't see, I mean, she never helped me with anything. She never paid for any of the materials I used to build a house. It took me 9 years to build a house, because it took me 6 years in the Navy, living on the ship, never going anywhere, never doing anything, saving every penny, so that when I got out of the Navy, I would have enough money to buy materials to build a house. And then it took me 3 years to actually, put the house together. So 9 years of my life were gone. And I couldn't see being homeless for 9 years while I did that whole process over again. Plus, I really had nowhere to go to make that kind of money, because after I got out of the Navy, all the jobs I got were minimum wage. The most money I've ever made in my life is minimum wage. And so, and a lot of times I didn't make that. And so I stuck, I hung in there because I wanted to make God happy. And then, of course, like I said, I couldn't be homeless. Well, a coping mechanism that I've always had, because when I was little I didn't have any friends, so I always had an imaginary friend. And I mean, I don't even remember when that started. I guess maybe when I was born, I don't know, because I've always had an imaginary friend, and my imaginary friend was always a girl. I've always had a girlfriend, imaginary girlfriend. So all the way from birth till I was 26 years old, I had an imaginary girlfriend. Then I had a year where my wife and I lived together, and I had a real girlfriend, I thought, for a year. On my wedding day, I found out that she didn't really like me. She just wanted a free house. And she was abusive, so I had no relationship. I'm a very loving guy. I have to be in a relationship with somebody. So I defaulted back into my imaginary girlfriend at 27 years old. And just to explain to you what that means, is like I didn't think that my imaginary girlfriend was a real person. This is psychologically what was going on in my head. Was I always was hopeful that one day I would have a real girlfriend. And so I would pretend like I had a girlfriend, kind of like in preparation for the day when I had a real girlfriend. And like if I was around people, I would be having these like silent conversations in my head. Like, if I go to the grocery store and I'm picking out a loaf of bread, in my head, I would physically like be saying, what brand of bread do you think we should get? And, then my imaginary girlfriend would tell me which kind of bread to get. But if I was all by myself, like the times when I would go out into the woods, and work in the woods, I would actually be talking out loud. Always talking out loud to my imaginary girlfriend. And I had my imaginary girlfriend all the way up until I was 59 years old. Well, what happened, this is the part, maybe you all know this because I have talked about it before. I had it in my head. Once I figured out that God did not expect people to get married to one person and stay with one person forever, I kind of consoled myself by the fact that God was using me. My YouTube channel, Sustenance and Covering, was about the Bible, and God was using me in a way that He used the prophets and apostles from the past. And so I had in my head that for whatever reason, none of those guys ever had girlfriends. None of the women ever had boyfriends. Jesus didn't have a girlfriend. Nobody had a girlfriend. All the good people in the Bible never had a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And then about 4 years ago, I was doing writing the scripts out for the Melchizedek video series. I always say Melchizedek because I think that's the way it's pronounced, but traditionally in English it's Melchizedek, which is what I should have been saying. It was just a habit that I said it the other way. But I was working on that script, and I started doing research on Mary Magdalene, or on the disciple whom Jesus loved, and I found out that Jesus was involved in a very passionate, loving relationship with Mary Magdalene. And the day I found out, I was inconsolable. I was crying and just weeping for days and days and days. Why me? Why did I have to live my whole life all alone? I was doing this for you, God. What you could have helped me. You could have let me at least have a girlfriend at least once in my life, a real girlfriend. And the thing about it is, like, people would call me, because I've got people that I met through YouTube who I'm very close to, and they call me on Skype, like once a week or whatever. And I couldn't talk to anybody. I was so distraught that as soon as I would start talking to anybody about anything, I would just start crying. And so all my friends are like trying to console me, and I couldn't be consoled. I just something changed about me, and I was at that point, and I had always had bouts with clinical depression. But once I found out about the Mary Magdalene, the stuff, the information in the Melchizedek video series about Mary Magdalene, I couldn't function anymore. So another thing that happened at that time was that my wife started sneaking behind my back and hiding her medication. So I was buying her medication that she needed, and she was hiding the medication. I thought she was taking it, and the medication was essential. She had to have it because she needed this thyroid medicine because she has no thyroid gland, and she wasn't taking it. And I learned later that it does severe brain damage when you don't have any thyroid in your system. And so I went to the courts, petitioned the courts to get her committed. They committed her. They found out that she didn't have any thyroid in her system, so they did full blood work, and they got her back to taking her medication, and then they watched her. And then once they got her stable, they sent her home. But she was ruined. After that, I've posted videos of my wife. She's completely mentally incapacitated now, and it's getting worse. So my wife's therapist comes over once a week and talks to her, and she talks to me. And I started crying in front of her one day, And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I'm almost 60 years old and I've never had a girlfriend." And she said, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, I'm married." And she said, "Why not?" And that was the whole conversation, but I was thinking about that all night long. It's like, for years, like in the weeks after I got married, I would be saying things to my wife like, "I love you. Why don't you want to hold me anymore?" And she would go, "Just remember, if I ever catch you with another woman, I can make you homeless now." That was her thing. And she said it all the time. I was scared to death that she was going to steal my house from me. And after her therapist said, "Why not? Why don't you go get a girlfriend?" I got to thinking about it. My wife can't even communicate with people anymore. I was scared to death of this person because I had been trained to be scared to death of her, but at this point she poses no risk. She can't even use a telephone. How is she going to call a lawyer and say, "I want to steal my husband's house"? She can't do it. Up until then, I never ever talked to women on Skype or on YouTube. I'd meet people on YouTube. If they were men, I would, talk to them on Skype face to face. If it was women, I would just give them a short text answer because I didn't want to get in trouble. And after my therapist said that, I started talking to women on Skype. And having gone 56 years without ever talking to a woman about anything, I obviously fell in love with all of them. I had young ones, old ones, fat ones, skinny ones, and I just absolutely loved what it was like to talk to a woman. And in the course of that, I actually met one about my age. Very, very sweet, and here's the thing, is like, I'm an oddball, and to sustenance and covering subscribers, I'm not an oddball, because we're all the same. But like the people around me that the real people that I meet every day are nothing like me. They're all very evil. They all have these political agendas and religious agendas, and don't really love one another. They can't love you. They can't even love themselves. So I really had no one to pick from out here. But I met this one woman, and I was talking to her, and it got to the point where I was visiting her at her home, and we talked about sex and romance and love, and we obviously were like living like a couple. We talked to each other every day for about 2 hours, and this has been going on for about 2.5 years. And I was going to her house, and I don't know, so for whatever reason, she can't be intimate. Like, I tried to snuggle with her once, and she lost her shit on me, and so I learned not to ever do that again. But I finally figured out that nothing was ever going to develop between the two of us. There's no reason to go back over there. It's just going to make me frustrated and sad. But she talked me into it, and she said things would be different this time because we've gone a long way in our relationship, and so now we're ready to go to the next step or whatever. And I put it off until my birthday. Now, remember, like when I was 56, I was telling my wife's therapist, I'm almost 60 years old and I've never had a girlfriend. Well, when I was 57, I was telling people that. When I was 58, when I was 59, I was telling people, I'm almost 60, I've never had a girlfriend. Well, my 60th birthday came up. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to visit my girlfriend, and maybe things will be different this time. But they weren't. And I remember the day I got there, I was really, really disappointed because nothing happened. And I was trying my best to manipulate things into being more romantic, and I was very disappointed. But I thought, well, this is my first day here, maybe tomorrow, and tomorrow came and went, and I thought, well, maybe my birthday. That's the thing. The whole point was for me to be here on my birthday. Maybe something will happen on my birthday. And nothing did. Now, at the time, I didn't see my birthday as that big of a deal. In my head, it was just another day. But there were things that started happening that I just thought were going to go away. My jaw started hurting really, really bad. And I got diarrhea. And I didn't feel good. I just felt very sad and empty. Which happens, I just thought, okay, I'll get over it. My diarrhea will go away, my jaw will stop hurting. I never even thought about it. It was there, it was difficult to eat. But I went home, and on the way home, I was crying. I cry a lot. It's not uncommon for me to cry, but I cried all the way home. I was crying, and when I got home, I got in bed, which is what I do. Anytime I have a bout with clinical depression, I climb in bed, and I stay there. It's like the next day I'll wake up, but I don't get out of bed. And I think the longest I've ever gone in my bed is 2 weeks. Probably in my life, I have spent 2 weeks in bed without I get up to go to the bathroom, obviously, and to eat. But it's been 8 months now. I've had diarrhea every day for 8 months. My jaw has been hurting for 8 months. My esophagus has shrunk up, and now it's difficult to swallow food. I've been shaking uncontrollably. And so I was going to the doctor at the VA to find out what was wrong with me. And so they gave me a CAT scan and an x-ray and ran all kinds of tests on me. And they eventually sent me to a psychiatrist. And come to find out, I didn't know this, that when you're suffering from depression and anxiety, it can change the way your body works. So I've had diarrhea for 8 months, and it's not. I'm not making myself have diarrhea. It's like I'm not eating things that cause that. It's just in my head. I'm suffering from this feeling of hopelessness, and I feel anxious all the time, and so my stomach just doesn't act right, and my jaw. For what I found out, after going to my doctor and my dentist and my psychiatrist, is like that's a regular symptom of clinical depression and anxiety, is that you clack your teeth together. I didn't even know I was doing it. And the weird thing is, now that I know I'm doing it, I can't stop myself. I have to wear this thing, they call it a mouth splint. It's like a piece of rubber shaped like an imprint of your teeth. And you put that in there, and it keeps your teeth from knocking together. It doesn't make the jaw pain go away. The jaw hurts worse from wearing this thing. But it keeps me from chipping my teeth. And it's weird that every now and then I'll try to think about it. I'll think, am I clacking my teeth? And I hear clack, 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 clack. And I don't even know I'm doing it. I was supposed to go in tomorrow and get a scope put down my throat to look at my esophagus. And I chickened out because of the anxiety and the depression. I physically can't imagine letting someone put a tube down my throat. But I talked to one of my very good friends, and my psychiatrist told me what I need to do is just go find someone who's sexually compatible, and it would make me feel better, because one of the symptoms is I used to get sexually aroused every day by something, and I never noticed it, but on my birthday, that day, the same day my diarrhea started, the same day that my teeth started clacking, I lost my ability to get sexually aroused. First off, okay, I've been spent 60 years looking for a girlfriend, and psychiatrists telling me to find a girlfriend isn't going to help me, because it's useless information. My my friend, my buddy says you need to go on a dating site. Now I'm like thinking about it. Okay, maybe I'll do that. I don't want to be with a spiritually dead person, but I need something, and I don't know what to do. But I thought about it. I'm married. I can't be on a dating site. I mean, they don't let you do that. And I just got to thinking, there's no way I could be with a spiritually empty person having sex, and that was going to make me feel better. And plus, I wouldn't even want to try. At this point, once you realize you cannot get sexually aroused by anything, you don't want to be in bed with a woman and not get sexually aroused. So all of that came to an end. But I got to thinking, maybe I just need to use my YouTube channel for a dating site. So I made a video. You can go back and look. I think it was called My Contact Information. And in there I told people how to get in touch with me on Facebook and Skype and my email address. And I told people in that video, I'm 60 years old now. I've never had a girlfriend. I didn't beg somebody, please somebody be my girlfriend. But I put that up there hoping that some woman somewhere, a little old lady, cute little old lady would say, well, I lost my husband last year and I'm all alone. Or hello, or just anything I could work with. And I posted the video, and every 10 seconds, I was clicking on refresh, waiting for that message to come that was gonna, lead me to having a girlfriend. And of course, it never happened. Well, what happened is, my actual girlfriend called, and she had seen the video, and she was visibly upset. And she's asking me, why are you telling people you've never had a girlfriend? What about me? Why don't you ever tell your subscribers about me, And I didn't know what to say, because in my head is this isn't my girlfriend. She won't even snuggle with me, How could she be hurt by me saying I don't have a girlfriend? But I thought about it, and I thought about it. I mean, this woman's gone out of her way to do nice things for me for years. And she pays all of my, she knows I have no money, so she pays all my transportation expenses when I go to visit her. Takes me out to eat just about every day and always pays. She bought me a whole new wardrobe. She spent $2,000 on my house. So she obviously loves me. It's hard for me to, let me just say I'm confused. I don't know, I don't understand why she doesn't want to snuggle with me. But, I've tried to talk to her about it, and she seems to just avoid the subject. But she did tell me that she's not a lovey-dovey person, and she doesn't do lovey-dovey stuff. And so I basically just have to work through, I had a 34-year marriage to a person who wouldn't have sex with me or snuggle with me. Maybe that was in preparation for being with a girlfriend that can't do those things. I don't know. But since my birthday, it's prior to that I used to fantasize about things like my imaginary girlfriend. I would dream about traveling, and I would dream about repairing my home, and I would dream about owning a pickup truck. And, you have all these aspirations, and they all went away. And even my imaginary girlfriend went away. And it's not like I haven't tried. It's I know, at night, I used to sleep with a pillow, and I'd hold it all night, and I would talk to it. And now I can't do that. I physically cannot imagine it. I can't pretend anymore. I can't imagine. It's almost like a death in the family, because I depended on my imaginary girlfriend for 60 years, 59 of those years. And now I don't have the ability to conjure her up anymore. And I'm not delusional. I never ever thought that my imaginary girlfriend was a real person. But it is weird that she's gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not dreaming about I haven't cleaned my house since my birthday. I haven't cut the grass. I don't do anything. I mean, I get up in the, like 4 times a day. I get out of bed and I go down and I check my wife to see if she's wet. Cause she has accidents. She poos and pees on herself. And then I have to clean it up and I have to dress her and wash her clothes and I have to feed her. But other than that, I don't get out of bed. I go do that, I go back to bed. And then, like on days when I have doctor's appointments or when I have to go shopping, I'll get out of bed and I'll take a bath and I'll go to town and try my best to get in and out without anybody noticing me. It's another weird thing that happened to me since my birthday. It's like, I know that everyone sees me as a loser. They always have. But now I'm really, like, I've got this paranoia about it. When I go to Walmart, I used to watch people doing stuff, especially couples. I would always watch couples and pretend like, I was part of a couple. But now when I go to Walmart, I can't look at anybody. I have to like look at the floor. And then when I get to the aisles, I just look at the shelves. I don't make any eye contact with anybody because in my head, like, I don't tell myself this. It's just the feeling I have is that everybody there knows I'm a loser. They know that I've never had a job that pays a living wage. I've never had a nice home. I've always been just the poorest loser in the community. And most of all, they all know I've never even had a girlfriend. I know that that's just crazy, but that's what this is about. My journal is like part of my journey to regain some mental health, some kind of mental health. But I felt like I had to share this with everybody because people want me to make some more YouTube videos. You have to know that I can't think of anything now. In the past, I've had this seasonal affective disorder where my thinking was cloudy, like for the whole winter from October to April. But this has been since May, and I don't know the future, but it just seems like this is forever now. I don't see myself ever getting to a point where I'm able to put together a thought, a full thought. So how am I going to write a script for a YouTube video? Even like in my head, I know that everybody is going to love everybody after Christ returns. And I know that Christ's return is real. But it's like that imaginary girlfriend. I can't think about stuff like that. To me, the only plan going through my head is to get older and sicker. And then to get older and sicker than that. And to get older and sicker than that, and to die. That's all I can. That's the only thing I can think of that's ever going to happen to me. That's what I've been doing since the day I was born. I've been getting older and sicker, and I had fantasies about all these things I was going to accomplish and all the fun things I was going to do. But none of that ever came true. The part where I get older and sicker, that comes true every day. You can count on it. And so basically, my thought process is not, I want to stay in my bed forever, but it really kind of is. I wake up, I look at my watch to see what time it is. An hour later, I open my eyes and look at my watch again to see what time it is. An hour after that, same thing. And I do that all day long. And at the end of the day, I go, thank God I got through another day. And the next day I wake up, look at my watch, and start all over again.